Hello YouTube wrestling community. Today we're going to talk about one of the greatest pay-per-views I have seen in the last 12 years. And it was just amazing to see the drama, the suspense, the disbelief, the shock, the sheer awe of everything that happened and the way that wrestling is supposed to be. It really happened last night. We witnessed history. I want to welcome you to Scotty Hall on YouTube, and I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoy. Like, comment, and subscribe. Start things off with the Bray Wyatt debut. He versed Kane in an Inferno match, but it's not an Inferno match anymore. It's 2 PG, so they called it the Ring of Fire match or whatever. And Bray Wyatt said he wasn't scared because in the end they're all from hell or they worship, I don't know, but he wasn't scared of the fire. So they get it started on the match. And the guys couldn't get in because the Inferno match was blazing and everything. And then Bray Wyatt was not really looking too good. It wasn't really a good debut for me. I had my doubts, and he really overlaid on my doubts, so it didn't really intrigue me as much as I thought it was going to. And Kane got the better of Kane, literally beat him to death and shown him how Kane really looked good. And the guys ended up trying to get in the ring and the fire would shoot up, but they got one of the firemen's like blankets that they put over people that are on fire to put it out. And that's how they got in the ring, and they ended up getting the best of him. So Bray Wyatt got the win in the debut with the help of the Wyatt family. And then at the end, they smashed the ring apron steps on his head, and they ended up carrying Kane off into the back. So maybe he'll join them, maybe he won't. But anyway, they took Kane with them. Then we come to one of the matches that I was really interested in because I'm a pretty big Christian fan, especially when he was in TNA. He really earned my respect to break away from Edge to make his own character because he actually got back with the WWE through TNA. So I was really wanting to see him have that one more match because honestly I felt like he was going to retire after this match, but I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, Alberto Del Rio versus Christian. It was an amazing match, a back and forth, false finishes, everything was all out there. Christian laid it all on the line. Del Rio looked good. He done some kicks off the corner, and Christian done the spear, and he kicked out, and Del Rio got him in a cross arm bar, and then Christian finally got out of it, and then Christian dumped him on the ring apron and jumped over and done the smack, but Del Rio jumped up, and then he rolled back in the ring, and then he ends up getting Christian into the cross arm bar, and Christian didn't want to tap out. He looked like he was going to get out of it, but Christian ends up tapping out, and it really, really hurt my feelings, but at the same time, I'm not disappointed with it. He gave it all he could. Now we're midway through of a stellar pay-per-view thus far. It's really, really going well. And we get to the match that everybody wanted to see. The hype of the best versus the beast, which I like to say Brock versus CM Punk, because there's just so much that goes on with CM Punk being the best in the world, and Brock is truly a beast. I mean, anyway, they got to the match, and Paul Heyman escorted down with Brock Lesnar, which, if you remember, 3 months ago, he said he wasn't going to go with Brock to the ring because he wouldn't do it with him fighting Punk because Punk was his best friend. But when he turned on him at Money in the Bank, he decided to go with Brock. There was a million things I thought that was going to happen during this match that didn't really transpire, but it looked like it was going to. But anyway, Brock literally manhandled CM Punk. He literally destroyed him. At one time, it looked like a twig fighting a tree. It's just, it was crazy to think that CM Punk was literally going to beat Brock Lesnar. The only way that they could literally sell this as a legit match was to make it no disqualification at the last second. And it's another way for Heyman to get involved like he did. But the match goes back and forth. Brock is just dominating pretty much. And then he introduces the chair. Punk does a couple moves and flies off of just a bunch of kicks, like where he wears the knee pads and stuff like that. But he got out on an announcer's table and actually jumped on him and clotheslined him like he did on Raw. It was just a playback of what happened, like the last 3 promos you've seen on Raw the last 3 weeks. It was all the first match, the first part of it. Brock was really sweating bad and just like really looked like he was out of shape, and Punk was working him well. But Punk really put on a show and tried to give him everything he could. And it just went back and forth so much, and a bunch of false finishes, and like Brock gets him in the Kimura lock or whatever. He looked like he was going to break his arm, but Brock's arms were so big that it looked like he just snapped his arm in half, because Punk's arm was like this big and Brock's was like this big. It looked ridiculous. And then Paul Heyman gets involved and he tries to stop Punk. He tries to trip him, and CM Punk's chasing him around the ring. And then all of a sudden CM Punk gets up with a chair and he beats the crap out of Brock. There's like 30 chair shots. And then like he goes off and he tries to get him in the Kimura lock again, but Punk reverses it and kicks him in the head, and he's going for the pin. And then all of a sudden, Brock pops back up and is ready to get him in the F5, and Heyman's up on the turnbuckle trying to distract him. Punk grabs Heyman's tie, and Brock's like, let go, let go. And he's like, let go, Heyman, get down, let go. And then all of a sudden, he like yanks off on the F5, and Punk kicks him again and then gets him down, and then he goes up for the Randy Savage with a chair. He done the elbow drop with a chair, and then he goes to pin him, and they're like 1, 2, and then Heyman jumps in the ring and hits him, and Punk grabs him and chokes him and like grabs him by the tie and looks at him, and then he gets him in the what's it called, the Anaconda Vice, and he's like putting it on him and everything, and really trying to break his arm. And then Brock comes up with a chair and hits him, and then he ends up flipping him over, and he ends up getting him an Anaconda Vice. But anyway, it went back and forth, and then Heyman distracted again, and in the end, he laid the chair down, and Punk, he done the F5 on Punk in the middle of the ring on top of the chair, and that was it. That's all she wrote. Brock Lesnar with the win. Now we come to the granddaddy of them all, the one, the only, the match that everyone wanted to see, the one that everyone needed to see, the one that everyone needed to feel, needed to be as a true wrestling fan, needed this to happen. If you did not rent this, you missed out on a classic. 12 years in the making, just ridiculous. Ever since WCW went down, this was the match that if you wanted to see it, if you wanted to see the energy that Stone Cold Steve Austin brought to the crowd, we have not seen this since Steve Austin in the WWE. Daniel Bryan is so over that the crowd literally blew the roof off the Staples Center. I've never heard a crowd that loud other than New Jersey last year at Raw after Mania. Well, this year after Mania, but they were loud. Either way, I haven't seen it that loud since the glass broke and, Steve Austin ran down to the ring. But anyway, not about Steve Austin. Daniel Bryan comes down to the ring. Cena comes down to the ring to a sea of boos, hideous boos, just boo, boo, and oh my God, it was getting to him. First they lock up, you can't wrestle. Cena looks around and he's like, oh my God, he's shaking his head. It's really getting to him. Daniel Bryan is putting on a show. He's trying to do everything he can to make Cena look good, to sell this match, because Cena is all about power. Cena botched like 3 times. But anyway, it's not about Cena. It's all about Bryan, because everybody needed this to happen. Bryan was giving him everything he could. Cena goes for an F5 and hits it. He pins Bryan. Bryan kicks out. He goes crazy. It's just Triple H. I didn't even know Triple H was in this match. That's how legit of a referee he was. it's like I didn't even know till halfway through it, and I seen him on the turnbuckle counting for when they were outside of the ring. But Daniel Bryan and Cena were going back and forth, and Cena was just getting mad. He was getting frustrated, and he went out to the doctor because they were selling the elbow injury. Like, they wasn't really going to put Daniel Bryan over because he was hurt, but he went out to tell the doctor that his elbow was hurt because Daniel Bryan was getting the best of him. So he rolled out of the ring like an old Flair or an old Arn Anderson or something. It's just little things to mess with the crowd, like holding his arm and saying, getting him back, or going through the middle rope like Bully Ray or Ric Flair would have, just to buy time. And he walked over to the doctor and he said, my arm's fine. Why would you walk over to the doctor and tell him your arm's fine and you're not even using the arm? It's just ridiculous. Because Daniel Bryan's submission move is for the arm, and he grabs the left arm. So it just goes on to show. But they lock up again, and they're going back and forth, and they're like, you can't wrestle. Cena sucks. Daniel Bryan, yes, yes, yes. And anyways, they lock up, and they go back and forth, and so he gets Cena down in the no lock, and Cena's about to submit. He goes to the ropes. He grabs it, and then Cena goes off, and then he actually gets Cena in the STFU. And then Cena reverses it, and then he goes for the STFU on Bryan, and then he reverses it and makes him get into the no-lock. It's just a bunch of reversals back and forth and back and forth. And everything was going fine and everything. And then, like, Cena didn't know what he could do with him because he couldn't get him to tap. He done the AA, he couldn't get him out. So he decides to do something just ridiculous. He goes up to the top rope and jumps off and does the leg drop. And he thinks he's got him. And he goes for the pin, and it was 1, 2, and Daniel Bryan kicks out again. Daniel Bryan's not going to quit in this match. So he decides to sling Cena across the rope, and then he runs to the corner and does that drop kick. And then he runs to the corner and does the drop kick again. Runs to the corner one more time, and Cena comes out with one of the most hellacious clotheslines I've ever seen. It made JBL actually said, what a friggin' clothesline. He came out and said that. Luckily, it was TV 14 rating because he got away with it. But to get JBL to say what a friggin' clothesline when it was his super move, you can imagine what it looked like. But anyway, he turned him inside out. And then he got him up again, put him in AA again, and he kicked out. He didn't know what to do with him. I mean, he didn't even know what to do with him. So Daniel Bryan gets up again, and then he goes off, and he gets him down in the try to get the no lock on him again, but Cena gets in the ropes, and Daniel Bryan gets so mad that he goes up and he does one and kicks and knocks him out, and he lays down. And then Cena's all dizzy and everything, and Daniel Bryan gets in the corner. This is exactly how it went, and I got chills to the bones for wrestling to see this again. He goes, yes, yes, in the corner, and yes, and he's getting louder, yes, and he's doing this. And Cena's like staggering back up to his feet. Daniel Bryan runs as hard as he can and knees Cena right in the face. A knee drop in the face. Cena falls down, gets a black eye. Daniel Bryan lays down, and it's 1, 2, 3. The whole place erupts, and I go crazy. My girlfriend goes crazy. We were slinging pop bottles and everything, just going crazy because it's finally here. The day is here. Somebody got it off Cena. There's a new face in the company. Oh my God. He gets down and he thanks his parents. He said, thank you, Mom, and thank you, Dad, for being there for me. I couldn't have done it without you. Confetti falling from the air. And I said, yeah, I told my girlfriend, I said, yeah, Triple H was a class act. His ego didn't even get in the way. And it was amazing. But I was sitting there thinking, as it kept going on in a minute and two, and after the match, he was still standing in the ring. And he was slapping Daniel Bryan and being in the being in the camera view and everything. And I'm like, man, his ego, it didn't really get in the way. And then all of a sudden, you hear Randy Orton's music hit. My girlfriend's like, nah, he ain't going to cash it in. He's just going to tease because that's all they do for a year is tease that they're going to cash it in. So Randy Orton comes down and runs, and I'm like, he might cash it in. He might cash it in, Sarah. And then she said, no, he ain't going to cash it in. And then he goes down and he goes up and shows Daniel Bryan this, like looking at the briefcase, and he turns around and he goes back halfway, and it's Triple H and him clapping and stuff, and then all of a sudden he turns around and he looks back and he like starts walking toward him again. Triple H grabs Daniel Bryan, kicks him, and pedigrees him in the middle of the ring. And my girlfriend was like, "No, what?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, yes." And I know it's not the popular thing to do, but you know you want it. You know you needed it. You know you had to have it. That was amazing. The disbelief, they have not had me like this in 15 years. It was just amazing. This hasn't happened since Bret Hart or since Stone Cold joined McMahon at WrestleMania 18. It was just crazy, amazing, and it was awesome. Triple H screws Daniel Bryan. Randy Orton comes up slowly and hands him the case. Triple H goes over and smiles and says, "Ring the bell, ring the bell." And the referee the announcers or whatever ring the bell, and then he goes to pin him and he counts 1, 2, 3, and then Randy Orton is the new WWE champion. The one thing about it is that Daniel Bryan actually got to hold it, but in the end, Triple H and the company have who they want to be champion. Oh my God. What a great pay-per-view, my friends, and I want to thank you guys for understanding and listening to me babble on about this, but you have to understand that this is what wrestling is about. This is what it's all boils down to. The greatest person that goes up against the company and then the company screws him. It's just the way it's meant to be. It's the way it has to be. You have to understand this. You have to know that it was great TV. No matter how bad it made you mad, no matter how bad it pissed you off, that's the point, that they got a reaction out of you, a shock value, the greatness that wrestling has always been in our lives. Just to have that moment and had to wait a long time for it, even 12 years made it worth it. But it all came to fruition last night, and it's really coming back slowly but surely. And I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, we all have a video camera, we all have internet, and we all have an opinion.